History seems like a dull topic to talk about, but it's always good to be able to go back and see how other cultures survived without the technologies that we have today. Ancient Egypt is a great culture to go back and research because there's so much that we are still learning from them today. Egypt used to be split up into two different regions, Upper and Lower Egypt. They are said to be united by a man named Mensis at the capital Memphis. The two had different crowns to distinguish between them. One had a red crown and the other had a white crown. And when united, the red crown was put over top the white crown and it was called a double crown. Other important figures from ancient Egypt would be Amun, king of the gods, Mut, mother of the goddesses, Ra, the sun god, Osiris, lord of the underworld, and Isis, mistress of magic, who was married to Osiris. Ancient Egypt left artifacts for us to be able to go back and see how they used to live, and mummies are one of the important things that they left behind because it showed how bodies were embalmed and preserved. For a body to be preserved, it would first be taken to a tent called an ibu, or the place of purification. It would be washed with palm wine and rinsed with water from the Nile. Then a cut would be made in the side to take out the internal organs. The lungs, stomach, liver, and intestines were all taken out, and they were washed with natron, which is a naturally occurring salt, and oils and water from the Nile. After they were washed, they would be wrapped and then put into canopic jars. After the internal organs of the body cavity were taken out, then the brain needed to be taken out. For the brain to be taken out, they used a device called a brain hook, which they shoved up the nose, which attached to the brain, and they jiggled the brain around until it was a liquid form, and then drained out the people's noses. After they drained the brain out, they would fill the body cavity and the head with natron, sawdust, leaves, and linen, pretty much anything to help the body look alive still. And after everything was washed again, after everything was preserved and everything was stuffed, they let the body sit for 40 days and then put a lot of good smelling oils on it so you couldn't smell the decay as bad. After the 40 days, the body would then be wrapped. The head and the neck were wrapped with linen, while each toe and finger would be wrapped separately. Arms and legs were wrapped separately also, with amulets placed all over the body to help it in the underworld. A priest would read spells out loud while the mummy was being wrapped to ward off evil spirits from the afterlife. Arms and legs would then be tied together with a papyrus scroll in between the arms from the Book of the Dead. And then outer layers of the bandages would be painted over with liquid resin to glue the pieces together. Then one huge cloth would be wrapped around the entire body with an image of Osiris painted on it, and then one last cloth would be wrapped around the body to cover up that image. After everything was wrapped, determining if the person was rich or not, or if they were a pharaoh or a commoner. If they were a commoner, they didn't really get a huge ceremony. They didn't get to stay in the pyramids or the huge tombs. They were just put out in a normal burial ground. But if they were a pharaoh or a king or some huge rich person of importance, they had 4 different types of caskets that they were put in. They had the outer, the inner, the intermediate, and the innermost. The outer was made of gold foil and wood. The inner was made of gold foil and wood also. And the intermediate, which is made of 240 pounds of solid gold. And then the innermost had the jewels, the amulets, and the magical charms to be able to help the people in the afterlife. And everything about ancient Egypt is just completely amazing because there's just so much that we can learn from them. And other artifacts and things that they left behind would be like the pyramids of Giza. And the pyramids of Giza the largest pyramid built by Khufu, a king of the 4th dynasty, had an estimated height of 482 feet. The base and the sides were 255 feet long, and it contained 2,300,000 blocks. The average weight of each was 2.5 tons. It's just amazing to think how they were able to move such huge rocks and create things like the pyramids. History is always important to go back and look at because of things like this, because it's hard for us to even contemplate how to create things like the pyramids without using cranes or trucks to help move everything. And thank you.